Okay, it said this meeting is being live streamed.
So we did it. Oh,
Are we live?
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Oh, I see us. Woohoo.
Okay.
Okay, great. So now can we see people? Will they be able to leave comments on this or on
They
Facebook?
will. It looks like there's going to be a lag.
Okay.
So I don't, yeah. So you might want to read the comments, but like leave the sound off on Facebook. Got it. That makes
Okay.
sense. Because otherwise we'll get feedback. But you
Echoing.
can, yeah.
So I can't really, so what happens if I, okay, that was not good.
I see people in there.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
See, how do you, I can't tell on my side.
Okay.
So,
Oh, Tammy says she can see us.
okay, great. So
Okay.
can you see comments or questions from people, Teresa?
Can.
Perfect. So you'll be in charge of questions then.
Okay. All
right.
We're gonna test my focus. But yes, okay, cool.
Okay,
Bye.
great. So thank you for those of us who had patience with us as we had to jump through a few hoops. But how symbolic is that of what we just went through, of what's been happening the last couple of weeks, right?
Yep.
And in our private group that we have, we've talked about a lot of us witches being down, literally and figuratively. And I reached out to Teresa because I had tagged her in a post about like, what the hell is going on with the planets? I would like to blame the planets, although I know that that is not, how it works. So I thought it would be great for you and I to have a conversation tonight to talk about the energy of what's happening, because for sure we are being influenced by the energy of what's happening with the planets. We just had this major eclipse energy, right? We're getting ready to go into full moon.
Yep.
Right. So, and then I know that Pluto is doing, I don't know what the hell Pluto is doing. It's like,
okay.
So we want to talk about that tonight. Is I know a lot of us as intuitives and sensitives are picking up not just the crazy of what's happening in the world, and there's still being a lot of uncertainty, but also feeling what's going on with the planets right now. So tonight we want to talk about that, and then talk about some ideas about how to do your best to stay grounded during this time of year. And then I want to talk a little bit about shamanically how we perceive and roll with these energies as well. So Teresa, why don't you start us off with like, what the hell is going on? Is there a planet we can blame is what I want to know.
Like all of them. Okay, so there has been a lot going on. So I won't talk a whole lot about exactly what's happened, but it's just a lot of conflict is in the air. We had Mars, and it's been pretty much all of December. Mars squared Jupiter, that was a big one because that, Jupiter expands things. But we're all feeling very strongly about how we feel, first of all. And Mars is that warrior,
Right.
Mars is in Scorpio, which I do traditional astrology. So that's like his home base. He's at home. He's feeling powerful. And Scorpio is like, that's intense energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so we're all feeling very strongly. Well, so is everybody else, right? And we're picking up on what everybody else is feeling too about their like their power and their strength. And there's just a lot of like going outwards. The eclipses, long story short, eclipses will kind of reveal things were that were eclipsed, information that was missing. So eclipse season is just tough, and it reverberates throughout a 6 month period, even longer. But most importantly, let's not get ahead of ourselves because
Right.
it's a one day at a time kind of
Exactly.
month. um but anyway, so we may have been having things be revealed. This we'll talk about the full moon first because I like to talk about good things. And this full moon actually looks good. It's like a breath of fresh air. It's really well aspected to Jupiter. So for the full moon, we have the sun in Sagittarius and the moon in Gemini. Moon in Gemini really wants to connect with other people, right? And Jupiter is a beneficial planet. It's called a benefic. And it also represents like our knowledge, expansion, understanding, like our view and perspectives and beliefs. So the full moon, uh, maybe let go, because we always let go at the full moon with astrology.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe kind of go to those who you feel like you can be open with or comfortable with, and share knowledge, but really just share connectedness and maybe let go of like grudges or anything like that, anything that's just not serving us, like battles, which is hard because like if you have an uncle that you're going to see at Christmas that, is not somebody that you would normally sit down and talk to, just those kind of aren't the battles to pick right now, even if he tries to pick them. Like I heard of this thing with when you're interacting with a narcissist to do the gray rock thing, where you just go, oh, that's interesting. Or you know what I mean? We don't have to
Yeah.
agree with people to.
I think that's great advice because it feels like is building up into this full moon, with things being revealed. And I did a post the other day about finding I knew it was definitely a message for me because I found like 5 spiral fossils like within 2 days. And it was that reminder that, we often experience these loops. Like, I have been here before, like this is a very similar situation. And so it was sort of that revealing of how do I look at this in a different way? Because I've been here 42 times. And what might I do differently than what I've done the last 42 times to shift this? And for me, sorry, my chihuahua here is decided to join in on the live.
Dogs are welcome.
Yes, exactly. She'll probably jump up here shortly again. But I think that letting go is that advice of the neutrality, right? Of not plugging into situations that you're like, I know where this is going. It doesn't ever end well for me. So maybe don't plug into that. Maybe just have that, well, isn't that interesting? Or, oh, that's great, and just not plug into it, because it feels like we keep repeating this pattern of plugging into things that are really not our business.
Yeah. And it's and people you'll still get pulled in, like in the and so I'll kind of move into the Pluto Venus thing, because this is gonna carry throughout the rest of the month, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so like the full moon looks good, and everybody's coming off of this Mars Jupiter. I just kind of want to peek and see. I can't multitask very well.
It's okay. See if anybody's got questions or anything.
Okay, yeah, we're good. Okay, so in cahoots, so what's going on right now? Venus and Pluto have been in a conjunction. You know, Venus is women, the women in our lives. It's sexuality, it's what we desire, it's money, and just relationships in general. Um, Pluto, Pluto is Hades, you know, it's the energy of the destroyer, like it
Okay.
demolishes things, like for like something to grow out of that, right? So it doesn't feel good. But the weird thing, Pluto was doing something to my chart, I can't remember now, when I went to rehab, right, which was like really horrible, but something beautiful came out of that, and it was such a relief. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? There's relief involved with Pluto transits. And so with Venus and Pluto together, we could be experiencing this in like love relationships, but also friendships, you know, especially with other women. And that is going to be playing out for a while because Venus is going to be going into retrograde. And I think that dealing with Pluto transits are a lot easier if we are open to our shadow. And that's where
Mm.
your knowledge is going to come in very handy. Because the other day when you posted, I think I wrote, I was like, I'm in a dark cave with every trigger and every shadow of my life right now, you know? And that's kind of what it's going to feel like. And at the same time, people are experiencing that as well. So people who are not accustomed to doing the inner work and finding what's within them are going to be just blaming, 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 finger pointing, you know?
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think the shadow is, and I think it's so interesting with the feminine energy that you're talking about is, yes, as a radical feminist myself, I see that the patriarchy is really not going to go down without a fight, right? And it's this challenging of female and male and gender and all of that, that we're all feeling as well. And I think a lot of that is bringing up the shadow in so many people. And we've done a lot of shadow work within Circle, and I think my favorite story about of working with the shadow and the value of an energy like Hades, just sort of like bringing out the destroyer kind of energy, right? Which I think, especially as women, I feel like we've been trained not to embrace, because we need to be good girls and nice girls and all that kind of bullshit. And there is power to the energy of Kali, the great destroyer and creator, right? It's that mother energy of I made you and I can destroy you at the same time. And one of the stories I talk about in terms of doing shadow work is the story of, I work with medicine cards, and the story of deer. And deer represents love, right? It's just this embodiment of love in deer. And the story is that that the animals were trapped on one side of the valley, and they had to get through this tunnel to get water. And so every animal was having a little meeting, like, there is a monster that is guarding that tunnel, and how will we get through? And so they're sending the lion, and they're sending the bear, and they're sending their big animals, and nobody's having any luck. And finally deer says, let me try. And everybody's sort of laughing, like, what the hell are you going to do, deer? Like, we're badasses and and we can't get anywhere. And so deer goes to the monster and says, may I pass? And of course the monster is the shadow, right, is reflecting that like anger and everything. And deer says, I love you. And the monster just keeps getting bigger. And deer says, I love you. And the monster just, keeps getting bigger. And the bigger it gets and the angrier it gets, deer keeps saying, I love you.
Wow.
And finally, the monster says, no one has ever said that to me before. I always get teary when I tell this story.
That I
Because
have
that's our
shivers.
shadow.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's our shadow.
it is.
Is we don't say to our rage, I love you. Thank you for protecting me. We don't say to our anger, thank you for showing me where I'm out of alignment. I love you. So I love, in a way, that you have this energy. And Venus, is Venus the planet of love? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how interesting, right? That you have that energy married with love
Yeah.
and the ability to shift energetically by loving our shadow.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there's that dance of Persephone and Hades because she became the queen of the underworld and they had a love affair of their own, and so I have chills all over right now. And that's kind of, it's like we're playing with that energy, and wow, that deer story is just amazing. I'm gonna save that one.
Yeah, and I think that that's part of the tools that we can use during this time to navigate is I think a lot of us are using that word like I'm being triggered, like everything is being poking at me right now. And I was listening to Brene Brown, and I had posted about this, right, where she was talking about her own experience of, being triggered, and her telling her therapist, I feel like I am, sort of this naked turtle with no shell, and I'm going through this, whole plantation of prickly things, and I'm not drinking anymore, I'm not using drugs anymore, I'm not eating myself out of my feelings now, and I need something. She said to her therapist, I need something to take the edge off. The therapist is like, have you ever thought about just not going into situations that are clearly filled with prickly things that are going to poke the shit out of you, right? And I think
Yes.
that's so relevant to the energy of what's happening. And as you're describing what's happening with this Hades energy and this love, and it's that time of year, right, where you want to be with family and friends because you love them, and yet they just show you like, oh, here's some prickly spots, right? And it feels like really having that mindset of, is it worth going in bare naked into the cactus patch? Or maybe do I not want to do that? Or if I decide to go in, what can I put on as some sort of protection that's not alcohol or drugs or whatever, but the tools that we talk about, our essential oils, our crystals, our colors. I'm always, when I have to go into situations that are a little, I usually wear red, which I always laugh because I remember in corporate, I'd wear my power red suit, which I didn't know at the time was like energetically protective, right? But it's thinking about, if I'm going to go into those situations, what do I mindfully, consciously do to get my vibration up if I choose to go into it? And I think that's really from a shamanic perspective, if you're making the choice to go into a situation that is a cactus patch, know what you're getting into.
Yep. And like they were saying, you don't have to get into the patch at all. Like when we can, especially right now, it's just a very, very triggery time. And if you're around someone who is unhealed, or um, not very conscious, it just could be hurtful, and it could be unnecessarily hurtful, even if you love them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I personally have just been very mindful about where I'm spending my time, making sure that I honor, like that I take alone time. Sometimes that's 5 minutes, and I pray, and just so that I can, like, because whenever I can get alone, I'm like, okay, there you are. We're okay, right? You know what I mean? Like, we're okay. And then I'm like, yeah. And that's like it's a weird thing to do, but a lot of people are awakening right now.
Yeah.
So, and I had a dark night of the soul, and they talk about the dark night of the soul. So people are seeing things, they're going through all that. And I remember what my dark night of the soul was. And I needed to be alone through a lot of it.
Yeah.
So, you know, but there are going to be people like c- almost kind of clinging. Pluto energy can be kind of
Oh,
obsessive as well. You know, like power plays and yeah, I'm dealing with this very like so personally that I can't even share it really here, but it's not easy because you know the in old cartoons, I always think about this. Like when the two cartoon characters, Tom and Jerry or whoever, are like, "Grr,
right.
grr, grr," and there's the scribbles everywhere. Um, like I envision myself stepping out of that, and the other person was still in it. Do you you know remember that from the cartoons? And you're like, I'm not there with you anymore, you know. But
Right.
sometimes you get dragged back in and there's a lot of space. I mean, whatever space can be carved out, even if it's 5 minutes in the bathroom, like we're all new moms right now.
Yeah.
They say even if you're in the bathroom, just like when you have like toddlers or babies. um
Yeah. Or, you're in your car for a few minutes alone, just to breathe and have your reminders to breathe. And, um, it's so interesting how even just hearing that word, like in a song or something, sometimes I'll go like, oh yeah, like take a deep breath because I know I'm
yeah,
breathing because I'm functioning, but I realize I'm not really taking a deep breath. And, I think so much of that control and power it is evident in a lot of relationships that I'm watching and that I'm in as well. And I had an interesting thought the other day because I've had a similar experience last week, and I was reminded of this because I spend my day with horses all day. And in the horse world, right, you have your lead mare, and she's the one who runs the herd, and um, everybody does what she says. But there's always the second one who's sort of like waiting for that moment, right, to take over the herd. That's why female horses, a lot of people don't like them because they're constantly looking for, where's there a challenge? Is the herd protected? They're constantly paying attention because the stallion really doesn't do. The stallion fights and procreates. That's pretty much all the stallion does. But the mare is the one who's constantly like radar picking up, like women are, right? We're constantly picking up things. So I've been experiencing sort of this, lead mare energy, and feeling like, oh well, I want to be the lead mare, but I'm not quite the lead mare, right? And so I've been living in this energy of like I want to be here, but I'm not. And the other day I was like, the next horse in line doesn't ask permission, like, hey Teresa, can I take over the herd? And the lead mare says, sure, I was feeling a little tired today, take over, right? It just happens one day when the lead mare is not paying attention, and boom. And so it's this energy I was thinking of as we're getting triggered of, well, I don't want to feel like, a little girl anymore, or I don't want to feel like the bitchy ex-wife, or I don't want to feel like the, second in line friend or whatever. It's about shifting that energy to say, like, I'm not going to ask you for permission to be this anymore. I'm just going to move in that way.
yes, yes, yes. Pluto is like you have power, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's the moral of the story, and it's not about thwarting it or like proving that you have it. It's about knowing that you have it, you know. And let's clear out limiting beliefs and
Yes.
subconscious thoughts and things that you're telling you about, because that's kind of what I've been having pop up in my experience are, you know, situations that make me go, oh, yeah, I got to work on that one. I don't feel good enough here, you know, like it's like, but I'm getting better. It's like the spiral you were talking about. We always learn a lesson more. It's not a circle, it's a
Right.
spiral because we always learn it more intricately or deeply. And anyway, but yeah, as things pop up, I'm like, oh, that's what Pluto is showing me in my relationship, you know, where I need to just be in my own power.
Yeah. And I think really claiming that power, and I think as women, and I noticed this even, in my corporate life, right? It was sort of this asking permission to move up. And the men never did that. They just sort of like took over and we'd be like nicely, oh, can I do this? And I would watch the men and I'm like, well, why don't we do that?
Yeah.
Because then we're bitches, right? Oh, she's a bitch because she just takes over, da 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 da. And so in one of my dark nights in the last couple of weeks, I was like, fuck this. Pardon my language for those of you who haven't heard me speak before, but I was like, fuck this. Like I'm going to claim my inner bitch, and my lead nurse, Samara, is who was reminding me of this because she really doesn't care. Like she doesn't care. She's like, I don't care if you think I'm a bitch or I don't care what you think. My job is to take care of myself. And that means taking care of everybody else. So I'm going to do what I have to do to take care of me. Yeah. And however you perceive that is none of my business. And it's an energy that I wrestle with her because I'm like, God, you're so bitchy sometimes, you just push everybody out of the way to get food or whatever. But I thought, she takes care of herself first. She has to, because it's her job to take care of all 10 horses. Mm-hmm. So I think that energy that you're talking about of Pluto, of remembering that, yes, we are highly intuitive. We are empathic women, but we need to remember we can control that energy. It doesn't control us. That's where we start getting exhausted because we're going backwards, right? We're dancing backwards all day long instead of saying, no, I'm leading the dance here.
Yeah. Yeah. And saying no, setting boundaries. That's also what this is. And that boundaries are a Scorpio thing. So that was kind of what we had going on last month, is working on, establishing boundaries with people, because right now it's just so much about self-care, and making sure that, because if we don't take care of ourselves, we have no business taking care of anybody else. And and people are, because also, and I don't know, but I do want to help people, but I want to effectively help people. And I can't do that if I'm not taken care of, if I don't pray, if I don't meditate, and it really doesn't have to be a long thing. I'm sure that you have great information. I mean, sometimes all I have time to do is like a 10-minute meditation in the morning, but that could be 5 if it had to be, and like a couple of quick journal sentences, just something so that I know that I am the person that I start my day off paying attention to.
Yeah, I think that whole message about self-care and what, especially right now, it's easy because there's so much shit that we believe has to get done right now. It's easy to say, oh, I'm not going to do my meditation, or I'm not going to do my prayers, or I'm not going to do whatever. It's easy to sort of knock that off. But even just, sorry, I'm hearing I'm hearing voices like squealing next door, and like they have wild pigs at my neighbors, and I'm like, is that a hog over there? What is that noise?
Oh my gosh!
But anyway, I think taking just a moment, even just to say, thank you for this day, even just, guides help me. Mm-hmm. Even that small thing will just give you a moment before you start rushing out into your day. It's I have to catch myself in the morning. I usually will create space to have my coffee and do my journaling and open up the 7 directions and ask for guidance. But even on the days that I'm just, like, okay, I got to keep going, I got a lot of stuff to do, as I'm walking out the door, I'll just say, guides, help me today. Mm-hmm. Or something to mindfully connect with Creator. Creator, I'm connecting with you today. Thank you for this day. Anything to just stop for a moment and before you head out. I think our clearing tools are so important right now. You know, I've said this time and time again to my clients. If I've been around a group of people, I will not get in my bed without showering, because I don't want that shitty energy getting into my bed.
Mhm.
So it's something that I do religiously. I don't care if it's 2 o'clock in the morning if I've been out, which is, you know, I haven't done in years, but you know, my point is I'm not getting in my bed without clearing my energy field with water, because
Yeah.
it just doesn't feel good to me anymore. You know, smudging yourself, lighting a candle, using your essential oils, using your crystals, whatever you need to do as you're moving forward into the world. It's just your reminder.
Yeah.
You know, I'm out in the world and I've got my crystal and I'm feeling stressed. Tap into that crystal. Rock person, help me, you know, ground me, protect me, do whatever. So I think our grounding tools, especially right now, are really important. And I think, you know, we were talking before, it's so interesting from a shamanic perspective, because I work with the medicine wheel, right? And we're getting ready to move from the west into the north at the winter solstice. And so it feels like biologically, energetically, spiritually, our bodies know, just like nature knows, we're going into a dormant time, right? We're going into that time of going within, of really being in gratitude for what's happened in the year. And yet, this society is like, let's jack up, let's jack up and be as busy as we can be, you know, as we're going into winter. And it's just always like, you know, what the hell are you people doing? Because everything within us is like, we need to nest and cocoon and rest, because, you know, we've been through, I mean, we had a horrendous winter this year. You know, then we go into spring, you're busy, busy, busy. Summer, we're kind of doing chores. Fall, we're preparing again for winter. And now you're like, Jesus, I'm just freaking exhausted now. And yet here's these next couple of weeks where everybody is on psycho flame or something, you know? So I think giving ourselves, if you know you're going out, block in a day or two where you can, I need to take a nap, or I've got to take a day off where I can cocoon, or give yourself some space in between the crazy to regroup.
Yep. You reminded me of something also. So the other day I was driving and I was stressed. And I yelled up. I talk in the car a lot, right? And so I was like, what the fuck do you guys want me to do? And I'm like, play me a song, just play me a song. And I turned the radio on because I've been trying to be in silence more. That's an uncomfortable place for me to meet for me, but I know that things are coming up right now that need to be worked on, right? So I turned on the radio and it was this song by Tears for Fears, Shout, Shout, Let It All Out. And I was like, you guys are kidding me right now. So I laughed and then I screamed my face off. I mean, I screamed and screamed. And the second I was done screaming, I was like, whew. And I looked over and the car driving by, the license plate said, yes, Lord. And I was like, no way. Like God or the universe was up there just going, thank you, girl. We just wanted you to like let that shit out. Sorry. Anyway, it was the most beautiful thing. And I'm like, thank you for that gift, because sometimes it's just getting that throat chakra and getting those like, I mean, there were some guttural screams, you know, and I don't know a whole lot about the throat chakras. I just do stuff intuitively, but I know it felt good. I mean, it felt good when I was done. But
Well, and I think this time of year, right, it's, you know, it's throat chakra is so much about us speaking our truth. And this time of year, I think when you're with friends and family that you're maybe not around all the time, right? You're swallowing your truth a lot. Like, I really want to say you're a narcissistic asshole, but I'm not going to, because Merry Christmas, right? So you're sort of swallowing a lot of this stuff. And your body was saying, I've got all this energy and I got to move it. It doesn't feel good inside my body, so I need to move it out. And most of us find inappropriate ways to move it out, right? Like when I need to move energy and I lose it, I'll just start throwing buckets at the horses, which is not nice, but that's instead of finding some more mature way to move my energy through. But it's the time of year you can start. I was telling you, I fell last week. And I hit the ground and I was like, fuck you, universe, fuck you. Like, what the hell is this all about?
I love it.
I was like, okay, it's like ground your ass. Like you need to ground your ass. You are like in a tailspin. And so I just sat there. Thank God I fell in Tucker stall, which has nice cushy sand in it. But it was like, I need to just sit here for a minute because I had tripped several times before and had managed to keep my balance, but I didn't get it. So, my guys are always like, hit her with the 4x4, that'll do it. And it was like, got it.
The pebbles aren't working.
Exactly. So, it was those little things when they start happening, right? You start breaking things, you're tripping things, you're running into things. These are your body's way of saying to you, you've got some energy that needs to be moved. And no, maybe you can't say to your mother-in-law, you're a controlling bitch, but you could maybe scream in your car, right? There's some way for you to move that energy through.
Yep.
That's where the discomfort starts coming in our body, is like, it doesn't feel good to hold on to this, but I got to let it out. And if you don't do it in a conscious way, your body will figure out a way to do it in a way that's not so pleasant. So don't fall like I've fallen, don't break things or wreck your car or whatever, because your body is trying to give you a message.
A hint. Exactly.
Yeah, a little hint. So with the planets, we've got, as you were saying, we've got this Pluto, we've got this Hades energy, we've got Venus involved. The full moon, you said, was going to be a little more gentle, you feel like, for us?
It's just it might be like enlightening, just popped into mind. Kind of, we might have like insights or like knowledge or something. We can learn a lot from it. We're pretty open to learning.
Do we have, I'm going to just put this out there, if anybody has questions or anything specific they want to ask about, or anything they'd like to share, Teresa can read that on her end and see if we've got any questions from people.
Yeah, the last comment I saw was from Tammy. She said, "Love my red suit." I kind of have like a weird split screen thing going on. And there's one other the day before, but this is an energy that we're used to because it's been going on all year. But Saturn is going to do its final square with Uranus, which, if anybody listens to astrology, this happened in February and then in June. But basically, and now it's happening one more time. So there has been a tension, and it would be in a house in your chart, but that's been playing out between Saturn, which is restriction, authority, rules and obstacles, and then Uranus, which is freedom, innovation, higher minded thinking. So there's been a struggle, and that's something that we've had going on all year. That's going to have the final hit the day before Christmas. So it could feel like I know it could feel like a breakthrough. It could just be mindful of it, that a square is usually tough, but and that's kind of the one last thing that I have going on, but where we're sort of like, oh, I want to do this. And, I always think of it like a hippie kid with a really strict dad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I got Tammy with what does the New Year astrology look like? I haven't checked my transits lately. So I usually go month by month. Next year, so going into January, we still have Venus. She's going to be in a retrograde until January 28th, I think. So here's a Venus in retrograde thing. They say not to make big purchases or like change your hair or do anything like that because what you like might change after the retrograde.
Oh,
So that's just like a little bit of advice. And so she's going to be in retrograde. When she is retrograding, we are digging into our relationships and how they work. And because she's retrograding in Capricorn, it'll be like finances and stuff like that. But that's into January. And I haven't, other than knowing Saturn and Uranus are going to, yeah, no, she said no. Tammy said no haircuts. Saturn and Uranus are going to be coming really close to a square. So that energy is going to be with us all next year.
okay.
So I don't even know how long we've been.
I think
You
we've
need
been
to
on,
get going.
yeah, for like 30 minutes. So I think we'll go another 10 minutes just to, if anybody has
Cool.
any other questions, and then we
Yeah.
can wind it up. But, one aspect that you were talking about in terms of relationships and sort of what's coming up, and I've heard this from a lot of women in our circle, is that it's sort of like we're all having this awareness of how much energy we expend trying to help other people or try to, help other people who aren't asking for our help.
Yep. Yes.
And I think that as empaths, as intuitives, we're wired to just, I'm going to give and give and give and give and help and try and try and try and try to help and help. And I had an awareness lately that it's very exhausting, right? To keep trying to fix things where people are not asking to be fixed or they're not asking for help. And it's difficult to watch people wallow, right? I mean, you're looking at it like, well, they're wallowing. But from their perspective, it's like, I'm living my life how I want to live it. And we are trying to keep plugging into things that are not giving us anything back.
Yep.
So I think that whole conversation that you were having about relationships is that something important for us that the planets seem to be supporting is to look at our relationship with what is our relationship with those that are in our circle, right? And where am I expending energy where I don't need to, where I need that energy maybe, and am I in relationship with this person just for a healthy reason or a not healthy reason, right? I mean, I've had relationships in the past and you're like, I'm a really great enabler.
It's true. Yeah. And it's also, I mean, it's a good time for us to kind of look at that part of ourselves and be like, why, what is it about me that I don't feel is good enough without helping others? Because again, you have that Pluto, that subconscious belief of not enoughness,
I
we are
love that.
lovable even if we're not helping anybody.
Exactly. Even if we're not doing a dang thing, we are lovable no matter what. And I think that's an excellent point, is that energy of worthiness and who am I if I'm not doing for others? Who am I if I'm not, sacrificing myself? Who am I if I'm not those things? So, it sounds like, again, I think we've all been like, what the holy hell has been happening? Because it's been rocky. It's been very rocky. And yet, and I'm not going to say yet, and with that have become a lot of really great epiphanies for myself, I can say. Difficult ones. And yet I can feel like my soul is asking for, is like, okay, you've been through this loop so many times. It's time to move it forward. Like, you got to get to the next ring here. And so while it's been uncomfortable, it does feel like, oh, like I'm going to this other version of myself.
Yeah. And that the Saturn Uranus one, like I kind of just went, but like I said, that's been going on all year. And it is something to maybe now that we're in December, look and see if there was a theme of things that happened between, and it would be February, June, and then it's coming up to a head now. So December 24th, because that is really to like, I looked back and for me, it's between work and my time alone. It's in those areas of my chart and
Mm,
my connection to spirit. And this whole year, struggle where I've been trying to, well, not trying, I've started a business. And so I work from home and I've been getting a lot of people who are, um, be like, oh, you're just at home. Well, what do you do? You know what I mean? And so for me, it's been really this independence of being like, no, I do have a job. I work for myself. And apparently I'm not a very good boss because I keep going out and doing all these things that don't have anything to do with the work that I need to do. Um, but yeah, this is the Saturn Uranus thing. There's a lot to learn from that for us. So where we've been feeling a tension in our lives, maybe review the year and kind of see what have I learned this year. What do I not
perfect.
want to repeat? Instead of being, saying like, well, I want to go to the gym or be a better person or whatever. I want to not repeat certain things,
Right.
and just try new and different ways because Uranus is also new, like new things, the novel.
Okay. So February, June
June.
patterns, and then
Yeah.
we've got December coming up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm trying, and those were the biggies. But just know, I think the most important thing to know is that everybody's tussling. There's a big old holiday party, and some of the planets are drunk, and some of them are like flashing their, you know what I mean? And everybody's a hot mess. But some people are having fun and just like I don't. It's a good month to like be the person at the party who's like, I want to still have a job tomorrow, so I'm gonna just observe everybody else.
Can observe what everybody's doing. Take notes.
Exactly. All right.
Oh gosh. Well, Teresa, I love that you were able to come on tonight and you were so open to doing this very impromptu, and God bless us with the technology
Oh my
shit.
gosh.
But I encourage everybody, please check out Teresa, her business page. Teresa, you want to maybe put a little link on there or like type in
Oh
your
yeah. I'll
webpage or
I'll type it in the comments. So yeah,
perfect.
it's teresazube.com is my business page, and I do tarot and astrology. So and it is helpful to know like where the planets are in your chart because then you can figure out where these energies are playing out and kind of what might pop up. So
Yeah, so I know I usually go, I think it's called Astrocast. They
mhm.
usually you can get a free chart of what's in your chart and everything. But I know that you offer that as well. Is that
Yep.
correct?
I do.
So if that's something that you're interested in, and she's also at Of a Muse, you've been doing readings there as well. So check her out. She's an incredibly gifted tarot reader and every other kind of reader of divination and oracle cards. So you were a big hit at our Dia de los Muertos fundraiser. So I'm so grateful that you were
I
here.
loved being there. Yeah.
And I just want to emphasize to everybody that I love the analogy that, it's a big holiday party. There's all kinds of one extreme to the other. And the more that you can just be the fly on the wall and just remember that you want to keep your job for tomorrow,
Yeah.
the better off you will be. And it's so challenging right now to just know yourself, know what you're capable of and what you're not capable of, and what you want to do and what you don't want to do. If you don't want to go to holiday parties and hang out with a bunch of people this year, don't do it. I know energetically we're still, this COVID thing is still hanging around and we're still a lot of uncertainty. And so, for a lot of people, it still feels like, okay, we're still not completely clear of whatever the heck this is. And so, just self-care, self-care, self-care. A number of women kind of begged out on events this weekend. I was like, good for you. No
Really.
judgment here. You know, if you don't feel like you got it in you to do something, don't do it.
Yep.
But it is
Absolutely.
so helpful to know that, you know, I can sort of blame it on some planets. So
You
I was
totally
just, you know,
can. And
I was
Earth,
looking for
right?
finger pointing.
We'll blame the Earth a little bit too.
Exactly, exactly. So thank
I
you
had
all for
so much
stopping by
fun. Yes, thank you.
and watching. And we will maybe reconnect after the new year and sort of talk about what's coming in the new year.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye. Yep. Bye.
Bye.